Hi, my name is Matt Shelby. I'm the Libertarian candidate for Alabama House District 96. And today I'd like to talk about an issue that a lot of you probably know about, and that is that Randy Davis, the current representative for House District 96, was recently indicted for bribery related to some of the work he did as a state legislator. Now, this is very troubling. It shows that this kind of stuff can happen anywhere. The Baldwin-Mobile County areas are not immune to corruption with their public officials, and it's sad that we have to deal with it. It's sad that we have to deal with it as a state and as an area here in coastal Alabama. And it's at once surprising and not at all surprising. It's surprising in that as I was petitioning for ballot access, collecting signatures so that I can ensure my name was on the ballot, and talking to potential voters, no one had anything negative to say about Randy Davis. Now, a lot of people didn't know who he was one way or the other, but anybody who did know him generally said he was a good guy and had good things to say about him. So in that respect, it's a little bit surprising. But, on the other hand, can we ever be surprised that a politician that gets too comfortable in the position they're in, can we really be surprised if they do something that's wrong? I don't think so. Now, that's one issue that I'm addressing with my campaign. It's one of the reasons I'm running, is corruption in government. If you go to my webpage, electmattshelby.com, and up at the top you'll see a button that says Platform. Click on that, and you'll see the very first issue that I address is term limits. Now, one of the main reasons I would like to see term limits is because I think that term limiting state legislators and state senators can help address some of this corruption. The reason being, as I discuss on my website, is that the longer someone is in a specific elected role, the more comfortable they get, the more cozy they get with special interest groups, with, in this case, Montgomery, if you're talking about federal politicians as D.C., and lobbyists. And they get to the point where they either think that nothing bad can happen to them, or they just can't see the forest for the trees. And that's very troubling. And I think it's especially troubling because here in this area we have very high moral and ethical standards. We want our politicians to be both effective and to be good people. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that we should demand both of them. But at any rate, if we have term limits, I think that will address some of these issues. Now, that doesn't mean that someone who has done an effective job as a state representative or a state senator can't run for another post. If someone is good at their job, we want them to stay in government. We want talented, dedicated people in government. But what we don't want to happen is to have people get too comfortable in their roles and do things like Representative Davis did. Now, I'm not one who likes to jump to judgment, but having read the full indictment, and I encourage you to do that if you haven't, it's 57 pages, the evidence is quite damning. It's very detailed, and actually one of his co-conspirators who was not charged in this indictment had actually pled guilty to federal offenses for another unrelated corruption charge. So I think that while he certainly due his day in court, we are very justified, I'm very justified, and anybody else is, in heavily criticizing Representative Davis. So what else can we do to address this issue of public corruption? Again, I think that term limits is a great thing. The problem is you have to get politicians who are voted into office, you have to get them to vote for something that is against their electoral interest. And that's very difficult. But I think if you employed 2 terms in office, a limit of 2 terms in office for state senators and state representatives, that it would cut down on corruption. Another thing I think we need to do is look at electoral reform. And I mean a couple things by that. First, as a third-party candidate, as a libertarian, I know the difficulty of getting on the ballot. Just getting on the ballot is very difficult. And if you can't get on the ballot, you can't run. And what that leads to is a lot of very non-competitive races. You have areas that are considered Democratic areas in Alabama or Republican areas in Alabama. Their representatives and senators get elected, and they just continue getting elected. Sometimes people run against them, sometimes they don't. But I think that Alabamians need more choices. We need third and fourth parties. We need independents. And we need them to have the ballot access they need to bring new ideas, like I have, to the state. So there's another area we can address it, and then also in the way we vote, as opposed to this first to the post system that we have right now. I would suggest maybe looking at a different system, such as ranked choice voting, and I'll talk about that in a future video. But one of the benefits of ranked choice voting is it does away with this problem that people have with being scared they're wasting their vote. Now, personally, I don't believe in the wasted vote idea. I think the only wasted vote is a vote against your conscience. That being said, practically, it does dissuade people from voting for a qualified third-party or independent if they think that they, quote-unquote, can't win. So that would address that. It also allows instant runoffs, which is going to save the state. In other words, the taxpayers a lot of money. We won't have to pay for these expensive runoff elections that the Republicans and Democrats have. So, and I'll talk about that a little bit later too. So I do think that the two-party system is something which does inherently lead to corruption, and we need to work on breaking that. Again, Alabamians need more choices. Now, I also want to talk about today some of the things that I'm going to do so that you can be confident that that I personally will not be subject to this kind of corruption. First of all, once in office, if a lobbyist contacts me, if a special interest group contacts me, I'm going to immediately let my constituents know. Now, I may post that on social media. That's probably the most likely thing I'll do, but I'm going to make that information available. So I want to be very clear. If anyone approached me either before or after my election and is with a special interest group, is a lobbyist, I'm happy to talk to anybody. But people will know about it. Now, the other thing I want to be very clear on is that if you support me, if you donate money to my campaign, that does not mean that I will take your opinion or your interest any more seriously than any of my other constituents. Again, I'm happy to talk to anyone. I will have an open door. I'll be responsive to email and phone calls. I want to know what people think. But the person who donated money to my campaign compared to someone who didn't even vote for me, if they're both constituents, they both get the same time and the same attention. I'm not running to represent my supporters. I'm running to represent everybody. And I'm not going to be someone who serves any special interest, who serves any lobbyist. I will do what's right. And if you are supporting me or donating to my campaign, I'm going to presume you're doing it because you want me to do what's right and because you trust me to do what's right, not because you want to influence me. So anyone who has it in their mind to support me or donate money to me to try to influence me, go ahead and set that aside right now. That's simply not going to happen. The other thing that I've done, or rather that I haven't done in relation to being an open book, is my Facebook. My personal Facebook is public, and I did not go through and delete anything, curate anything. I am who I am. I've been active on social media since 2004, 2005, my senior year in college. And all that information is out there. Now, there may be stuff that I've said that I no longer believe. There may be stuff that I've said that you don't agree with. There may be stuff that I said that you don't agree with and you think it's crazy, but I still believe. And that's fine. I don't have anything in mind right now. I didn't go look through it, but I invite you. Take a look at me. I want you to know who I am. I don't want you to vote for a carefully curated image. I want you to support and vote for the person I am. And I want you to trust that the person I am will represent you and your interest. My emphasis here is that I'm just a person. I'm just a guy hoping to help out Alabama and hoping to help out this area of coastal Alabama. I think that we have an issue where we view politicians as leaders. They're not leaders, though. They're servants. They're public servants. And we have far too many politicians who want to lead, who want power. And I think it's time for a change. It's time for a change. We need real people who are ready to work for other people. Now, I think that part of the problem is the two-party system, which I talked about earlier. We have two parties that are, while very different, also very the same in that they want to take and hold power. I'm not part of that two-party system. I'm also not, again, a carefully curated politician. I'm just a person who's trying to do what's right for my area. For the sake of transparency, I'd like to reveal that I'm very often long-winded and have a penchant for going on too long. So I'm going to stop right here. But if you have any comments, questions, please let me know. Please contact me. Again, I'm open to talking with anybody. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear what you think that I can do better personally and that what Alabama can do better as a state and as a government. Thank you.